Love, I don't think people take enough time to have pre-discussions about children,
family, and friends if they decide to build a life together.
Yeah. Why is that even necessary?
Well, it could cut down on some conflict later. So say I don't want to have kids and you want to have a house full of kids. Now that's not a way. You can't have a half a kid, 25% of a kid and work through that. There's no way to compromise. Either you do or you don't.
Well, say I know that, but I'm thinking I could change your mind. You think you don't want kids, but...
And that's where the problem comes in. And how many people have you met that said, she trapped me, or I felt like it was required of me? I've met quite a few mature women, when I'm saying mature, still of the birth-giving age, that opted not to give birth. One of my closest friends will let you know in a heartbeat, it was safer for her to support you and your children than for her to give birth to some. And then somebody had to come in and rescue the children because she just didn't want to do that, in her personal life. She don't mind helping other people. They have helped relatives with their children, but not for her to have until 20, 30, 40 years, down the road. Just wasn't something she was greatly interested in.
I'm wondering too.
Even before we were grown, she said that.
If there's an aspect of that if you conceive a child, now this is your responsibility that you have to maintain this. Whereas if you help with a child that someone else conceived, you don't really feel the full weight of the responsibility of it.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I have said, you are free to pursue your personal interests. If you start in this career and that really isn't it, and you want to pursue in this one, go for it. But when you have children, it's time to come down on it and make a decision, because kids want to eat on time. They're not really concerned about what your stress level is. They want you there. They need hugs. They need things.
So are you saying in that prior episode when I seen them pots on that stage, I was still in my childlike developmental stage and saying, no, I'm still that kid that need to eat at the end of the day. Do you think some of this?
But one of your greatest joys is knowing what you was going to eat, because you knew your mama was at home cooking.
Well, yeah.
And that was a feeling of security and care and love for you. That's fair to me. But I was really clear because I was a young parent. I mean, it has totally structured how I've lived my entire life, because I always had someone else I was responsible for. So for me, it was important to have a job because I needed to know I had resources coming. It was important to me to have a job that offered me insurance so I could take care of this kid, along the way. Unfortunately, because I was so young when I gave birth, then they had to go with me through getting educated. So the sacrifice had to be made for my study time, so that I could get a job that would pay more. And it really didn't pay much. I have to be honest with you. It was like, it paid enough that I wasn't eligible for reduced lunches for my children, but it didn't pay enough that I could truly really feel like I could afford to pay for those school lunches without being at risk of not being able to provide other things.
Which brings me to an earlier conversation we had, in having children and then also having ambition. Mm-hmm. Do they coincide?
There's always a sacrifice, but it can't be. To me, my first priority was to who I brought into the world, whether the other side came through or not, whether the father showed up, whether the father paid, whatever. I gave birth, so I had to provide for those kids. Now, if they would have come through, that would have been like gravy. But I never I didn't stop providing because I didn't feel like they lived up to their part of it. I just had to kick it up another level. I was also blessed with a very well knitted support system. I had sister friends. It never dawned on me when I had my daughter that they didn't have a couple of hours a week that they needed to contribute to this kid so I could get an extra nap. That never crossed my mind that they didn't have to do it. I'm like, it's your day. If I had a chance to work some overtime, I can remember one of them when I made it back home after overtime, passed the kid over and said, I owe you a number 517 lipstick. I guess the auntie was resting and the baby was checking things out while she was sleeping. But I had those kind of blessings in my life. Plus I had my mother, my grandmother, and other extended family that would come alongside and be of help and encouragement.
Well, I know for me, the hierarchy shifted when kids came in. I was up here in terms of my hierarchy of what's important to me. I'm up here, but once children came into the place, I was down here. And I remember even Christmases, like, why are you always asking for underwear and socks? Because I'm thinking, by the time you take care of everybody else, if your priority is going to challenge what's above you in the hierarchy, then you have to diminish that, because now everything has to be in place and then you down here. And I would encourage everyone that's considering about children, it shifts your ambitions, it shifts how you spend money, it shifts how you spend time. And if you're not ready to do that, you ought to think real close before you even do things that could bring a child into your house, whether it's by conception or invitation, because we're always taking care of other people, and because we have the ability to do it, but that they had the same needs as if we had to birth them. But what about the friend part of it? I understand there's the dynamics about the child, but what about friendships? Why in the world does that have to go through some kind of system before, in order to be accepted in a relationship? Why can't I keep my friend and be with you too?
Well, it depends on who your friend is.
Well, wait a minute now.
Roscoe.
Don't leave Roscoe alone.
Belinda.
Leave Roscoe.
Belinda, who like to sit too close to you, is not going to work out.
Ooh, she was my friend before you got here.
Yeah, that's okay with me if y'all don't mind what's going to happen.
There's some tension in the room. Some tension.
If I decide I don't like that too.
Now, these ain't real people, y'all. We just coming up with names.
You did have a friend that called and said, look, he was my friend before, he gonna be my friend now. I got so tickled. Remember I asked you, so what was wrong with her? What make her think I care? And I just thought it was hilarious. Bless her heart. I don't know what she's been through to think that I want to be involved in that, because I was really very clear up front. You need your own set of friends. You need to go do some things with some other people, because you're a goer and I'm not a goer. I like to be at the house. I like to rest. I need a whole day in the bed after my 750 miles. What you doing today? Nothing. And I mean nothing. I don't know what we eating. I don't know how to food. I don't know. I ain't doing nothing. You see this is what I tell the kids. Do you see what I'm doing right now? This is what I'll be perfecting all day. Sitting on it. Don't come up here with a long list of things for me to do, because I ain't getting ready to do none of it.
Well, what's always been an integral part of our relationship, and a real good part, my friends are your friends. They were in our wedding. And those are the friends we had then. We've got other friends since then. I mean, you have their numbers. I know your people. You know my people. They're all our people. And I also understand the dynamics of relationships and how people, trust and all that kind of stuff. It's not easy for people to do what we just do naturally, because it's like, I don't trust you enough to be around a man or be around a woman or be around Cleophas or whatever.
Remember he used to say, you about to go out there, just let me know if Cleophas is coming to dinner. And I'm like, I don't even know who Cleophas is.
Well, Cleophas is my alter ego. Cleophas is a good guy. So
No, Creflo, whoever you said he was. You know, like, I can't remember what his name was, but he was always like, I remember that time I was at the gas station and I'm looking at this brother and I'm like, wow, really? Is this really what you have? And you go home and you treat that man right. I don't need your advice. You asked me for enough money to buy a gallon of gas. You ain't really got much to contribute over here, you know? So, but I do run into those situations. I also run into other situations, and you and my father, Taylor, were like, hey, leave those people alone out there. Something's gonna happen to you. But I'm like, no, I don't think it will.
And having that knowledge of knowing your personality, and you knowing my personality, and no matter where I'm at or you're at, you're gonna be who you are, and it doesn't become a thing because it interrupts. Somehow it interrupts. You got an outgoing personality, I got an outgoing personality, but no, you can't be talking to her if you or him. We're comfortable enough, but I also understand that there's been some things that's happened to people that don't allow them to flow in those kind of spaces, and they have to really safeguard who comes into the relationship, who we consider as friends, who I want you telling our business to, because our friends, they're part of the family. They're hearing business when it's generated. They know the medical history because they're in the family meeting. We talking about it. But that's that network of people, and they're always invited, and it's not a problem. But I think it's important, back to our earlier episode, if you choose the right one, you don't have those arguments over those type of things.
And then you might also need to grow into that, because there's certain phases where you are developmentally, where you just, there's a training out there, a book out there. It's actually a very good book. It talks about women want to be loved and men want to be respected. Mm-hmm. I have to understand what leaves you feeling disrespected. Mm-hmm. Because if I leave you feeling disrespected, then I turn on some crazy. Mm-hmm. And I got to be ready to deal with the crazy, and vice versa. So. Well,
I think bottom line is, once again, picking the right one, and then having open communication and being able to celebrate who a person is, so you're not always at war or apprehensive about something because you don't trust this person.
Or holding them accountable for something you doing that they ain't even doing.
Yeah.
That happens too.
Yeah. So once again, friends, family, relatives.
Don't give birth unless you're ready.
Yeah. And keep your relationship tight enough where you don't always have to question who you bring in. So you can enlarge your territory, if you will. But the bottom line is, just keep love flowing. Keep trust and honesty and integrity as a part of your relationship, so you can grow your tribe rather than have to minimize it, because you're minimizing your ability to be able to grow. God bless you. We look forward to talking to you again next time.